Welcome to the Metal Prognosis, my name is Lee, and on today's video we're going to be talking about reamping a guitar signal digitally. Now it's very common in today's projects that people have to work out of multiple studios. So what I thought would be a really cool thing to look at and give an example of is if someone had a very basic, simple studio or recording hub to work from, can they utilize what they're doing there into a project that's going to sound big and epic? Or at least a lot larger from what you're working with. So I had a little temporary studio set up the other day for another video. So just before I packed it up, what I did was I got one of my songs and recorded guitars for it, just dry. And then what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna play that footage for you in a moment so you can see it. Then we'll come back, hop on the studio here and reamp it digitally and see how big and epic we can make it sound. And show you a couple of little tricks here and there, and then we'll have a talk about the real pros by taking this type of approach and technique. So sit back and enjoy, well, what for me is Lee a couple of days ago, and then I'll meet you back on the studio there where we'll make it sound a hell of a lot better than what I got the other day. So here we are at our recording hub here. So as you can see, I've sent some files with just a basic mix down of the bass and the drums to be able to play against. And I've got the tempo set here at 163. So if we use a metronome, we're going to be exactly in time, which I'll set up right now. Where are you? Metronome enabled. Now, quality of this is going to sound a little bit rubbish for a few reasons. A, we're using just in-house stuff in Reaper, and I don't know how to capture the sound properly in here, so you're going to be hearing what's coming from the speaker into my microphone, so it's nowhere near as good as how I capture it in my other studio, which you're going to experience hopefully in a moment. So just to run you through what I've got is, firstly, we have this sound. So that's a dry signal that we're going to be sending to the other studio to make it all sound nice and pretty and all that. So what I've got here is I found a distortion. Which isn't the best. And an amp and speaker emulator. So this is all just in-house in Reaper. So I put them in purely so we can hear something decent come out there and not just the dry guitars. But when we export this out, we'll export it out with only the dry signal and none of this other stuff that's happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to just quickly record this. Okay, we save that. I'm still not too au fait with Reaper, so I'm still new with it, so finding the shortcuts and trying to get around quickly is challenging. So what I'm going to do is record another one now. So let's keep that there, line up this one, and so the guitars do sound a little bit like rubbish. So what I'm going to do is quickly record two more of these of the same thing. So when we take it into the other studio, we can have a left and right and a backup guitar, just in case something goes wrong. So I'll quickly play and record this. We'll fast forward through it, and I'll have a quick chat to you before we go into the other studio. Go save all. So now I've got 3 copies here. We're going to send them off dry. So I'm going to take off all the effects we had there, and then put it in the other studio and spruce them up and make them sound nice and pretty. What I also thought would be cool was I'm going to do a quick mix down of these guitars with this distortion on there. It sounds rubbish, but then we can at least compare it to see what it's like working from this little situation here with what you've got, and when you can send it off to someone else, or if you personally take it to a different studio and work with reamping stuff, either digitally or analog, where you can actually take your sound and how big and epic you can make it, even though you're starting on something a little bit tiny, a little bit more compact. So let's hop into the other studio and get to work there, which for me is going to be on another day because I need to pack this all up. But for you, it's going to be in a couple of seconds. All right, now we're back in the studio here. So what I've got firstly here is I've just imported the bass that we had before, the drums, and the guitar mix. So now the guitar mix is what we recorded before. So let's quickly listen to it again in this environment where I can actually capture the sound properly, and you can hear the roughness of the distortion that we got from the in-house of what Reaper had. That's enough of that. So really rough, really grindy soundy, but not in the good grindy way. So what we're going to do is we're going to import, actually before I do that, let's do a little bit of maintenance first. So this song is set at 163 beats per minute. So I'll set that up so when we get the clicks in, so now we know when everything's in time well enough. So now let's drag in the dry guitars. So if we drag it in here like that, there it is. I'll definitely mute those ones. Let's bring them all in quickly just so they're there. Yes, please. Last one. Yes, please. Now, I normally always get if someone wants to do a setup like this with me and they want to bring their guitars from their recording hub into here, I always ask them to do, if they're doing a straight left and right, either for 3 or 4 different guitar takes. So just in case something's a little bit out or some of the sections are not quite played the best, we've got some spares and some backups to be able to fix whatever we want to fix. So let's just, I'll just mute that. And let's have a quick listen to. So we heard this bad distortion that we had before. And I say bad because nothing against Reaper and its in-house programs, but Definitely not what we're after and nowhere near as grindy and as full as what we want. But playing along to that is much better compared to playing along to this. Now, to the naked ear, you might think, that sounds woeful. Now, you're not quite wrong. It does sound very weak and very just meh. But it's a really good dry signal. And why? And we really like that because what we're going to do now is we are going to put a digital amp and cabinet speaker here. We're going to insert. Now I do have lots of, I don't want to say I've got lots of them because there are a bucket load out there you can get. I have a small amount, which are decent. So let's go to, I've been using Roots a bit lately. Where's that one? You can probably see it before I can. No, it's actually not there. Excellent. Ah, there it is, Roots. The one thing I don't like about this Roots is it's really amazing, it's really good, it's free. So I don't want to complain too much, but I don't understand why they didn't have the default one just with the noise gate on, because it can get a bit noisy. I'll show you. So, hear that noise coming through? Or if we turn this on, it's all gone. So let me chuck it in the left and right, and I'll do the exact same thing to Mimicum, and other, Roots, pedal board. Let's get the threshold. So we haven't touched anything else in here yet, but that's okay. Now let's listen to what it's going to be like having extreme left and right being digitally reamped. So I just brought up the EQ here so we can see straight off the bat that there is just a little bit of high end there. And let me solo that. It will sound better if we just do a little bypass from there. Just a little one. So let's hear that in the mix. So that in comparison to what we had before. If you listen to that compared to the, oh, wrong one, go away, the guitars that we just reamped. A lot more alive, a lot more fuller. and the dynamics there are much better. And as an example of what I did before is just give it a little quick EQ as well. So we can do a lot of post EQing. If we wanted to, we could even dive in here and do more pre-EQing and some other things. Like I'm a big fan of also EQing different patches like SSL and other different EQs here as well, which is kind of like my go-to ones for when I'm really trying to home in on the mix. But just to give an example a little bit more, because we could definitely delve in heaps here. Let's just quickly try a different plugin, just for shits and giggles. What do we got here? Let's go to Grind Machine. Grind Machine's cool. And we go to this one as well. Change that to the Grind Machine. This guy, so we've got 2 Grind Machines here. Now this one is the same as the other one where for some reason they start with the gate off and just creates hiss. Yeah, there's no hiss. Alright, so that's sounding a little bit not the best. Not the best for what we want. So let's try some different cabinets. And so what we'll do is we'll solo these. I'll take out one of them. This one, okay. Now this is all comes down to what you want for the song, which is going to be better. So let's just say someone said they want more bottom richness. So if we go back to, is it Fancy or Destroyer? So now we copy that and put Destroyer on there as well. So we've got the same speakers going through, so there's going to be no phase issues. Let's dump that in and see how it sounds. Back to the start. Let's see how that sounds in the mix. So this one has a hell of a lot more high end coming through. And to be fair, bottom end as well compared to the Roots simulator that we had up here. I think it's got a really nice, beautiful mid scoop here, a little bit below mid scoop, lower mid scoop, which has really got that old, like late 90s type of distortion grind. So it's pretty cool. I like it. And also what we can do is we can just chuck the old NS1 on here just to help clean up. I just need a tad just to clean up some of that. So that just cleans up a little bit of that high hiss that we don't really want. So now there's two ways. I had the dryer running through there too as well, but we could hardly hear it. So there are two ways of really running this. Is if we were to run this noise suppressor in the actual dry channels here, we would be mucking around with the raw signal. So before there was distortion or anything. But in this case, which is normally really good, it's normally better to control the dry signal because we've got it. But in this case, what's creating most of the hiss and the unwanted noise is the grind machine. But it's sounding cool. So now let's just do a quick, we'll do one more listen through it. With this, actually we'll go back. Let's go back. This is what videos are like when you do stuff on the fly. So this is the mix that we had in the portable studio or recording hub. So we've gone, so if you're working with either your client or yourself and wanted to know where your guitar sound is coming from, you would have been dealing with this sound right here firstly to actually jam and play along with. So we've gone from that, and then after a little bit of, I say a little bit, near to no work, because we've done it's really hard not to swear here, we've done extremely little amount of work here to get this sound here. So going from that to this. Now, you can definitely go through here and nitpick it more and see if anything's out and if you want to replace it and do some crossfading with this one maybe, or a bit of backwards and forwards. I don't like cut and pasting. No, sorry, not cut and pasting. I don't like copy and pasting because I feel like the journey of the musician starts from, use a mouse, Lee, you got the big screen on, starts from the start, and their playing actually revolves all the way around to the end. And you don't want to kill that journey by taking something from the start and putting it to the end, because their playing alters and you don't want to lose that characteristics of the musician. So we definitely want to keep the personality and the attitude of the actual musician within the mix. So I'm always very cautious about when I do start chopping wave files around here and that to make sure that's not lost, because that's what makes a song a song. And yeah, you don't want to take the heart away from it. So that is a super, super quick example of how you can do it and put it together. And yeah, as I said, like we only did 2 different amp things here. This in itself has a bucket load of different cabinets and amp heads we could go through and try. Like this is an example, like there's heaps. So I could sit here all night just showing you all different examples, but from a perspective of getting a sound from being very dry, very raw, and what you might perceive to be a bit shitty, to getting something more fuller and larger. So let's wrap this little section up here and let me change the mics around, and then we'll have a quick final thoughts. Time for some final thoughts on digitally reamping a dry guitar signal, and also too, as a kind of an elaboration on how we set up this video, taking it from one studio into another, and the advantages and how easy it can be for someone else or yourself to bring it in and really bring it to life purely with digital interfaces like what we use then. Super quick, super easy, and we barely touch the surface on where we could do it. Which sometimes is a little bit challenging from my perspective, because I'd love to like dive in a little bit deeper and show everyone, like here are all the different cabinet IRs or cab simulators, speaker simulators that I have, and here are all the various different sounds that you can get from it, and effects you can get now easily. You can bring them in and out, and how you can blend them and see, you know, what different combinations and really cool different sounds and things you can come up with. But wow, that video would be a long video. I don't think many people would survive through it. So I try to be as quick as I can with just showing the basics of here is how quick and simple you can do it, and here's some quick EQing and some other quick things you can do to help build on just one single dry raw guitar track that you've actually just captured in your home studio or wherever you are recording. Which also brings me to the point of how important it can be to do dual recording. Now, what we did in the other studio, it was kind of like dual recording, where we had the original sound there, the raw sound that we used when we brought in here, but we had a slightly better, I don't really want to say better sound because it wasn't a good distortion, but it was a much more usable distortion to use compared to just hearing the dry raw guitar, because it's extremely hard to try to give your tunes character and that emotion that you want to put into it if it's just dry guitars. So at least with that interface there, what Reaper had, to just quickly go through and put up an amp sim and a cab simulator and a distortion pedal, just so to be able to go, there's our sound, now I've got something we can play. Even though it does sound a little bit like rubbish, at least you can play along with it and do something. Now there are plenty of really amazing free amp simulators, like the first one that we brought up there, the Roots, which is for free, which I'll leave a link in the description below on all the different plugins that I use for this video if you're keen to check any of them out. Not that I'm sponsored or endorsed, but you know, I'm going to share the love and share the knowledge, what all these videos are about. So if you were to have a little recording hub like that, downloading something like that is perfect, because you can get that amazing sound straight off the bat without, and absolutely please delve in a lot deeper than what I did. I use the default settings and put the noise reducer pedal on, and that is it. There is so much more you can take the sound with that just to hear back. So you can actually play along, and even if you wanted to, which a lot of people do, and I'd recommend you do the same, where if you were in a position where you are the guitarist, or you are working with a guitarist, working from one studio about to send files off to another one, it doesn't hurt to give the second engineer, for lack of a better term, those original, not just, I'll get there, bear with me, to send them not only the raw tracks that you had at the end to finalize, the one they're going to be utilizing the most, but also the wet tracks or the dirty tracks as well. Because if you've invested time with, say, for example, the Roots plugin, if you invested all this time on trying to find the right sound that you would like and what you'd like to play with, you can send that as a point of reference to say, here is kind of where I was working towards. Can you get somewhere like towards that tier? And that really helps, because then they can go, oh, you've got this much saturation, the EQ kind of sounds a little bit like this, like say for example, we were trying to go for what we did with the Grind, where it had that little bit of a mid dig in it, which was really cool. The next engineer can hear that and go, oh, okay, that reminds me of this sound and this setup, cool, let's try recreate that, and there's a nice starting point, rather than just giving them nothing and they're like, I could throw something on there, but hopefully you'll like it, or hopefully the client will like it. So definitely give them references like that, can really, really help. So yeah, now this is done digitally, but what I'd like to do in one of my future videos, not too far away hopefully, is I'm going to do one where we get a dry signal exactly like what we did then, and we're going to reamp it analog. So I'll chuck it through either the orange dark terror here, or the Kraken, or Marshall, or some other actual physical amp. And then we can show you how we can reamp things that way. And even probably chuck it through a few pedals as well. So you can really get that experience to see, like even if you're only doing the dry one there, you can bring it to another place and really make it, what's the right word? Words that come to mind is awesome, make it really brutal. You can be really adventurous with the aggression that you want to add to it by adding different boost pedals and different distortion pedals, or EQ pedals pre and then post after the amp as well, and really be experimental on how far you can actually take it without having to actually re-record it, because you've recorded it, it's done. So you don't have to worry about being guitar fatigued from a playing perspective and start getting sloppy, or the guitar starts going out of tune, or the intonation starts going out, or the strings start wearing out, or plenty of other different variations that might actually happen. If you capture that raw one straight off the bat, your options are absolutely endless, which is one of the many reasons why sound engineering is so much friggin' fun and so awesome to just keep talking about and being adventurous and being creative, because yeah, all the stuff you can do is just, I'm just giddy like a little high school kid at the moment. A happy one, I should say. A lot of high school kids aren't happy. I definitely had my moments up and down in high school. Giddy as a really happy high school person. So, let me wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining me in this conversation. I hope this shed some light on either some inquiries you had, or if you're just happy to be a part of this conversation, whether you learned something or reiterating anything that you maybe thoughts that you had, or just happy to have these conversations because they're fun. So thank you very much. It was lots of fun putting this video together, and I really look forward to doing more type of recording, different little tricks and little tinkering things you can actually do and all that to help you inspire to attack something maybe slightly a bit differently if this isn't the way you normally do it. And until next time, please stay safe.